afternoon, everybody. We are back. It is the right side of campus. We're live. It's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, December 19th, 2017. I'm your host, the Big Man on Campus, joined by my co-host, Donnie Wright. Said, Donnie, it's 10 o'clock. Bowl action back in full force today. Florida Atlantic, Akron. We'll break that down. We got Monday Night Football and a bevy of more bad calls. We got college basketball, 3 games to break down, and we got all sorts of stuff going on today. How you doing? What's up?
Yeah, doing good. Watching a little Monday Night Football last night. About what I thought probably would happen in that game. We'll go over it a little bit later in the show. But, NFC playoffs, really heating up. That NFC South is going to be a dinger coming down the stretch. 3 teams in a heated race to see even who's going to win that division, let alone get into the playoffs. So some good stuff on the horizon here in the NFL for us.
A lot going on. We started out by saying hello to everyone out there joining us. We do appreciate you tuning in today. Hit the like button on the live show. Make sure you let us know that you enjoy the show. Also, comment on the chat box. If you're out there, give us a hello. Say what's on your mind today. We'll try to get to it on the show. We always try to incorporate that into it. As always, make sure you're joining and looking at everything that SBR has to offer, sportsbookreview.com. Every day, Donnie, I'm asked, what book's good? What book do you recommend? I always say go to sportsbookreview.com. That's basically what they do. They approve and rate sports books. They'll let you know what one is good and what one isn't, if it's on the blacklist, what kind of bonus offers they have, how you can withdraw your money, do they accept Bitcoin, all sorts of stuff. Make sure you're using Sportsbook Review for that. And you look at SBRpicks.com today, Donnie, articles on NBA, college basketball. You got show schedules, our show and all the other shows. You got Donnie at 3 o'clock, the Bet Buffet. I'll be on with that, talking college basketball. You got a lot of stuff going on today. So make sure you're checking that out and all the stuff that SBR has to offer here on a Tuesday. Let's get into the show here. Big man cash money last night. Yeah, no problem, Chris. Yeah, we got that done. Reggie checking in, David, John, Chris Carter, Matthew, Kay Zaga. Welcome in, everybody. Let's jump into it, Donnie. Morning headlines are first. And we start off in the NBA. Kobe Bryant's numbers, not one number, 2 numbers, retired last night. Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players to ever do it. Listen, we could talk personally about Kobe Bryant. I'm not a big fan of him personally, but on the basketball court, one of them, he was my childhood, basically. I mean, when he came into the league, I was, 7, 8 years old. He was a local kid, an amazing player. Weird decision to do this on a Monday. Thought that was kind of odd. But then he leaves, Donnie, like at the end of the game goes to overtime. He leaves right out of the arena, which was very kind of a slap in the face, I thought. I'm not sure why he can't stay. I mean, at that point, it was like 12:30 Eastern, so it was like 9:30 Pacific. Why are you leaving the game? I mean, what was that all about? But, Donnie, I ask you, do you have a Kobe Bryant memory? For me, it was the 81-point game. I mean, that was pretty unbelievable, really. But overall, in this town, he was kind of a polarizing figure.
Yeah, no, my favorite highlight, I think who was on the Knicks that gave him the 2-piece during the fight? That was my favorite Kobe Bryant, probably highlight of all time, when somebody hit him with a 1-2 punch from the Knicks. I don't know if it was Chris Childs or who it was back in the day, but that one for me would be my favorite Kobe Bryant highlight.
It was Chris Childs, I believe. I think it was in like 2000, maybe.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Hit him with a nice 2-piece, or maybe his rookie year where he was firing up air balls in overtime in a playoff game. That's probably my second favorite one as well.
Yeah, I was looking more or less for like a good memory. I don't really. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of him personally, just because of some of the things he's done. But overall, an amazing career. He gets not 1 but 2 numbers retired. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that also egomaniac Kobe Bryant as well, getting 2 numbers retired. I mean, is that just a slap in the face to everybody in the Lakers organization who got their jersey number retired, who had that blood, sweat, and tears for that purple and gold up there, where he's pushing behind the scenes. He wants 2 numbers retired up there. That's the most egotistical, nonsense, maniacal thing I maybe have ever seen in sport. You can't just pick one of those numbers. You have to have two. So now I put it on LeBron James. If you saw me tweeting last night, Jeff, LeBron James should change his number 6 times this season and damn near get a dozen numbers retired up in the rafters and make sure they're with both the Heat and also Cleveland to put his stake in the sand as well. I mean, Kobe Bryant, fantastic player. You're right, Jeff. What do you think about it? Again, I'm slanted because I'm from Philadelphia, and he's not one of us from Philadelphia. He's from Lower Merion. You can just lump him into Villanova. You know, you ask him where he wanted to go to college, it would have been Duke. I mean, just the whole typical Kobe Bryant thing. And again, you get back to, you don't forget about his personal life where, you know, say what you want about it. He doesn't talk to his mom or dad, which that'll tell you a lot about his personality as it is. But as an egotistical guy, to have 2 numbers retired. You got Shaq up there. You got some of the greatest players of all time. Wilt Chamberlain up there. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Why didn't they just say they wanted 2 numbers retired? Or how about this new one? How about Shaq comes out tomorrow, Jeff, and says, you know what? I want my home and away jersey retired now. You know what? Put the purple up there and the gold just to match Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I mean, we always hear about he's from Philadelphia. No, he isn't. All right, his dad played here. He thumbed his nose to Philadelphia many different times. But again, like I said, some of the stuff that he did personally, I don't, clearly I'm not a big fan of. But listen, I think he's the second best player ever. I think you have to give him that. I mean, he was a great player, but yes, personally had some problems. The whole rape thing that went on. I mean, that I felt like, if you really read into that case, there were some things that were definitely swept under the carpet there. But overall, a good player. But listen, I'm sorry, but leaving the game last night, I don't know what was that all about. I mean,
I don't even know. I mean, it's a wonder, Jeff, because I know here's what's going to happen too as well. They're probably going to have like next year the 1-year anniversary night of Kobe getting his 2 jersey retired. Then the next year, they're going to have the 2-year anniversary, so Kobe gets to speak again. Let's not forget of how he just bled the Lakers the last 2 years on one leg and just had his own retirement tour. Damn the Lakers as a team, getting better. This is my show. Don't give a damn about what the players are going to do my final 2 years. This is about me. He comes back again, and I wouldn't put it past him again. Maybe next year he says, you know what? You remember the time I had my practice jersey? Can we have another retirement ceremony just for my practice jersey in El Segundo? How great would that be? Never put it past Kobe. He's retired 75 times and had 75 ceremonies again. Maybe he'll have another 75. Every year they'll get together and try to re-retire Kobe's number, I guess.
Yeah, dude, as far as the numbers, though, I don't have an issue with that, honestly. I mean, good point by Fiorenza. He had 16,000 points in each number. What a hater, Donnie. Yeah, agreed. I mean, he did
Nobody's ever had 2 numbers retired. You know what they should have done? They should have just retired Jordan's jersey number. Like, nobody could even wear another jersey for the Chicago Bulls. Like, the Chicago Bulls should change to, like, the Chicago Hawks or something like that because Jordan was a Bull, and he should just retire the Bulls franchise when he retired. How about that?
I hear you. Ezekiel Elliott's back, Donnie. Woo, big deal. He's back. Now the Cowboys are going to make a big playoff run. But he's back. He's back from his 4-game suspension, and he's got something to prove, Donnie. We look forward to that. 2 games left. Cowboys obviously very involved. Big game coming up over the weekend. And again, it's a huge one. He will help in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting with Zeke coming back. I do think he's helped, but let's put this in perspective, though, Jeff. How many times have we seen this before, right? You're going into training camp and you have a holdout. You're not with the team. You're not on that daily grind. You could say, oh, Jeff, they all say, boy, I'm working out harder by myself than I would be with the team. We get all that. But let's not forget, this was a 6-game suspension, Jeff. This wasn't a 2-game, a 3-game, a 1-game, and you're allowed to practice, but you just can't, or you're allowed to be in the facility. He was away, I believe, in Cabo San Lucas for 6 weeks. So if you take it to the game they're going to play this Sunday, Jeff, that's 7 full weeks that he's not played in an NFL football game. One would think, Jeff, be a little bit rusty, maybe from the contact standpoint or from that explosion where you hit the jump step there and you just, maybe the leg gives out a little bit or get a little bit of fatigue. It is going to help him because just the energy that's going to come back in the room for the Cowboys. And I do have the Cowboys winning out, Jeff, the rest of the way. Seattle just looks straight up moribund. I think the Cowboys would be able to beat Seattle this weekend. And then they're going to play the Eagles playing all backup. So they should win that football game also. I still think Dallas is going to be on the outside looking in, but no doubt it's going to help them just for him being around. But being away, Jeff, for just about 2 full months and then going back into the rotation, you think he's going to get 25 carries. So It's going to be interesting to watch, but I do certainly think it helps him out, no question.
I don't know. He looks like he's in pretty good shape from what I've saw. I mean, not that he wasn't ever, but I mean, I got a weird feeling he's gonna probably single handedly beat the Seahawks over the weekend. They'll get into the playoffs. I'm sure he'll make a big time run because that's what the Cowboys do. Uh, I feel like they're kind of on that same totem pole anymore. They're gonna get some calls. They'll make the playoffs. You would agree, Donnie? They're in. They're gonna make the playoffs. They're not
Who?
gonna lose to the
Who?
Seahawks.
No,
We're
Dallas
talking
is not
Cow.
making the play.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas not making the playoffs. No, they're going to win out, but they won't be in the playoffs.
How? I mean, how do you figure?
Detroit's going to make it. Detroit has the tiebreaker. Detroit has Cincinnati and then Green Bay out of the playoffs. Probably is going to bench Aaron Rodgers and have them at home. Detroit's going to get in over them because they have the tiebreaker. Atlanta has the tiebreaker over the Cowboys as well. There's a lot to unfold. The Cowboys are sneaking around. They need a lot of help to still get in, and they are getting a lot of help by playing Seattle at the time they're getting them banged up and just about out of it. And the Eagles are going to rest everybody last game of the season. But Detroit's not going to lose the next 2 weeks, and that's de facto just knocks the Cowboys out. But the Cowboys will win the next 2 games. They're not making it in the playoffs, though.
A lot of negativity on this show, Donnie. People are unhappy with your
Yes.
negativity early, but it's time to be feel good story. Just a quick feel good story before you get going here today. It is 10:13 Eastern on a Tuesday, so you got to have a little positivity, Donnie. Nice
Hmm?
story out of the major leagues. Cole Hamels, who was regarded in this town for many years, big time pitcher, had a great career. Now with the Rangers, he's going to donate a 32,000 square foot mansion to a charity that provides camps for children with special needs and chronic illnesses. The listed house at $9.4 million. He's just going to donate. Quite the story here. Very around Christmas, it's kind of nice to hear things like this. An athlete that's not totally, all about himself, all about the bottom line, as people would say. Very nice story here. Him and his wife very active in charities, and I'm sure these kids will enjoy something like this. They'll turn this into a camp of some sort, and a lot of free roam here to hang out and play and do things here. Great story if you're looking for something positive in the world, which especially in sports, there don't seem to be many of these kind of stories.
Yeah, no, really good story there. I mean, have you seen pictures of this house, Jeff, that he has?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's in Missouri, in like the Ozarks, like sitting up on a hill, 100
Yeah.
acres overlooking like a river. Jeff, it literally looks like it's a high school, but a beautiful house. That's how big it
No,
looks. But what a
it's
cool story. What a cool story
and
about
the
that. And
house
again,
looks like
underprivileged like children and stuff like that. I love stuff like that. Like it's not even like, we're gonna use it as a hospital. It's basically like these kids are suffering, going through their daily trials, whether it be cancer or, kids much stronger than adults, I always say, because they take it head on. They don't know any better at 5, 6 years old to maybe get a week away there to go into one of those little fantasy camps and have a beautiful house to stay out in the wilderness. Awesome by Cole Hamels. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they bought the house in hopes that it would be their dream house of some sort.
Yeah.
And yeah, beautiful house. Looks like a castle. Very, very, very nice story here. But we move on back to the gutter of sports betting and into Monday Night Football. And, you again watched this game last night, Donnie. Odd call after odd call. And I really want to start with the awful, awful uh, 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 personal foul call. I think it was in the first quarter where I think it was Keanu Neal or Ricardo Allen, somebody um, basically puts his shoulder down and hits the player, and they call a 50-yard penalty. You know what play I'm talking about, Donnie?
Absolutely, absolutely do that. I mean, when we're looking at it, I believe it was the first quarter, and 7-7, I want to say, was the score at the time. And it was a third down play, maybe or maybe it was 7-0 still, Jeff. Let's just say 3rd and 9, something like that. The play was over the middle. One of the play, Cameron Brate, first of all, you dropped the football, so that should be a flag on Cameron Brate the way it was. It was a great pass. But when you catch the football and the safety has already committed himself, he has a target shot that he's looking at, right? And if Cameron Brate doesn't bend down and just makes the catch up high, Jeff, that shoulder goes directly into the center of the sternum and hits him in the numbers with a textbook hit. But the fact that he dropped the ball and then immediately dropped his head and still got grazed by the shoulder pad off the face mask, but the primary contact was still to the chest. And the best part about it, Jeff, is Cameron Brate, say what you want. Great move by him because this is the way you do it, Jeff. If it's a questionable play, nobody threw the flag right away. But you know what the key point was? Cameron Brate made sure he stayed down for a couple extra seconds to draw attention. And of course, every ref looks at each other like, you know what? Let's just be safe here and throw the flag. At least in college football, they would take a look at that and say, you know what? There was no intent on that play. The hit target delivered was a shoulder to the chest. No flag, no ejection, no nothing. Let's play football. Why can't we do that in the NFL too?
Yeah, and then like it seemed like right, 5 or 6 plays after, there was a big run. I guess there was a. By the way, I thought the late hit was a questionable. I mean, his foot was just out of bounds as he was getting hit. They throw a late hit flag on that play. I think it was Peyton Barber. Um, then they find out his knee was down, so the play
Yeah.
comes back, but they still keep the penalty. There has to be
You
some
imagine?
sort of way.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. The play didn't happen. Why did they get a free 15 yards there?
Yeah,
It
no,
should
no, you're
there,
right on that. You're right.
there should be something where they go back and say, well, obviously his knee was down, and during that time, that never should have happened because we should have been able to see that on the field. But we're just going to lean on the. And then people are saying to me, well, big man. I mean, you can't just let people, hit people after the bell and stuff like that. I said, well, again, there should be some sort of. They reviewed it anyway. Clearly, it shouldn't have happened. Why was the 15 yards ensued? It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, no,
Why?
it happens quite a bit. My favorite play in football, typically, Jeff, is the one that's going to be the offsides that they let play and then call holding on the tackle. Let's just say the defensive end is so far offsides, they don't blow the play, then he's going to blow the quarterback up, right? So your offensive tackle reaches out and sort of, grabs on a little bit so he doesn't kill him. That's offsetting penalties when it was offsides, and you never would have had the holding call if the dude didn't get a step and a half on the edge. But it's one of those things that you can't avoid in the NFL, but it always makes me laugh. Like, the play is over. He runs 30 yards downfield, gets knocked out of bounds. So de facto, you gained 1 yard on the play. If the play was called correctly by the refs, it would have been, nothing, and you still have the ball in your own 11-yard line, but you get the ball out to the 26-yard line in a 1st and 10. Talking about the game itself also, Jeff, staying under the total. That game had no business staying under the total, but when you're looking at lines, Jeff, 49, 49 and a half, 50, it's still hard to get over those numbers. The same thing the day before at the Patriots game. That game should have went over the total, 52, 52 and a half, or 53, whatever you got it at. But once you start hitting those 50 numbers, it sort of tends to slow down a little bit. You even got a little bit of breaks early on. Devontae Freeman runs into the end zone and fumbles, which Atlanta does get, falls on the fumble. And then you had, I believe it was Peyton Barber fumbled inside the 10-yard line. That one went the other way. Some of those key plays there helped keep the number under. So it was a nice little bit of money I picked up on that game there, little McDonald's action, as we like to say. But overall, Jeff, looking at Atlanta still alive in the playoff race, getting back to that NFC South. What a tilt, man. You're gonna, Atlanta bringing up the rear in that division with 9 wins. Then you have 2 10-win football teams sitting ahead, and they all line up pretty much and play each other heading down the stretch. It should be a fun one to watch.
Yeah. Devontae Freeman with a big game last night, 126 yards. Whole world on the Falcons. So wasn't surprising that Tampa Bay game through the back door. All the favorites hit last. It seemed to hit. It seemed like over the weekend, but this one was not one. And most people lost this game because they laid the 6.5 for 7. Thought it was stealing, and it really should have been. I mean, Atlanta. It seemed like they just couldn't get a stop when they needed to get one, and Tampa Bay was live. They played hard. Winston had a good game. Overall, Mike Evans had a big catch. They didn't go away in this game, so a nice win for Atlanta. But again, another win that seems kind of, it's like, okay, nice win, but there still are question marks about Atlanta, particularly. But
Yeah,
you're
the
right,
question marks, Jeff, on everything on that. Atlanta, I mean, look at their defense out there. They're completely different when they play in a dome on turf. They're built on edge speed rushing. And if you put them out there on a grass, you saw it last night. They barely, Jeff, had a pass rush. When if you speed it back a couple weeks and watch them in the Mercedes-Benz Dome, they get after the quarterback because they come around the edge on grass. You don't get that same type of speed. They were extremely pedestrian, Jeff, out there on defense. I was surprised by that.
and it's a great day because we could finally move on from NFL. We don't have to talk about it for at least 3 days. Thank God. We're not going to talk about this joke of a league that this is. This is definitely a year to forget for the NFL. I mean, a brutal year. Look, I know they're making money, I would imagine, but from standpoint wise, Donnie, I don't think you get a lower point for this NFL than you have right now. I mean, the league's got some major issues going forward, but we'll move on from the NFL. A couple days, we'll get back into it. playoff picture is coming into the forefront. We got games over the weekend, games on Saturday, games on Sunday, and a big tilt on Monday. Eagles, by the way, Donnie, got some
Mhm.
bad news last night though. After
Did we?
yeah, after the other, I think it was by Atlanta winning last night. Green Bay's pretty much eliminated from the playoff picture. So
Good news then, you
I think
said. Yes. Yeah.
well, that's not good news because they're not going to play hard against the Minnesota Vikings, which we would need them to this coming weekend. But now they probably won't play Aaron Rodgers, and
Yeah,
Minnesota
no,
shouldn't
we
have a
don't. Well,
problem.
yeah, but I mean, Eagles would have to lose two straight in order for Minnesota to overtake the Eagles. That's not happening. I mean, you already see the numbers shooting out there at 9 by kickoff on Monday Night Football. The Raiders would pretty much be eliminated from all playoff contention. You think they're going to want to come east on Christmas when with nothing to play for? Eagles might shell them at home, man.
Donnie, I know I'm late to the party, but Allen Iverson wore a Kobe shirt. That tells you all you need to know. Come on,
Oh, I
Donnie,
love
stop
Iverson.
hating.
Iverson is a
Kobe
treasure,
was
man. I love Iverson.
Stop hating, Donnie. Kobe was my childhood hero.
No, Kobe's a great basketball player, but he's not my basketball player. I don't give
I,
a
I
damn.
think
Burn his
I
jersey in
think
the
one
rafters.
thing
Oh, I care.
I think one thing people need to realize about the show, and we'll make this well aware, we're both Philadelphia people. We've lived here our whole lives. This is our home. This is what the town we love. And Kobe Bryant has been basically nose up at Philadelphia his whole career. He's basically said "fuck off" to us. He doesn't respect Philadelphia. He doesn't respect where he's from, supposedly. And that's one of the reasons that personally we are not big fans of him. It's kind of like anybody in a city that decides that basically he doesn't want to admit that he's from there. He tells them that he's going to rip their hearts out. I mean, come on, man. I mean, if I'm from Philadelphia and I go to play for the Cowboys in the NFL, I'm not going to shit on them every chance I get. And he's always seemed to kind of do that. He's kind of too good for Philadelphia almost. But I think that's part of the reason Donnie doesn't like Kobe Bryant. I don't think either of us will doubt his talents on the court. He was I like I said, I think he's the second best player ever. But overall, from a personal standpoint, that's why we don't like Kobe Bryant. It's not so much about him on the court; it's things they did off the court.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, you're gonna like your own in those type of environments. I dislike Jordan with a passion. I dislike Kobe with a passion. I hated Carmelo Anthony. They're not Philadelphians. We're provincial in this town. I show respect that you're a good basketball player, yes, but I'm gonna hate on you every single chance I get. I don't give it. That's just the way it is. And you should be like that. Am I gonna give props like, damn man, phew, Eli Manning is so good, or Tom Brady he's not ours. So what do I care? Yeah, great player. Tom Brady, best quarterback of all time. Always give him that. But that doesn't mean I root for him. Maybe if I have money on him, I'll root for him. But that doesn't mean I have to show respect and retire his jersey in Philadelphia. That's all.
yeah, Teddy, we know he went to Lower Merion, but also what you have to remember about Lower Merion is that's not Philadelphia either. That's fucking Villanova territory. That's we think we're better than all you, that kind of stuff. We don't like Villanova here, and that's Lower Merion. That's Lower Merion is the school, Donnie, that it's like almost like a prep school kind of place. Greg Downer out there who gets all the best players. It's just that typical school. That think they're better than everybody else. That's Lower Merion basketball.
Yeah, if you
And
want to equate superstar to superstar, I mean, you have an equal dichotomy here when you look. Kobe Bryant, who will say that he's from Italy, even though he grew up in the Philadelphia area. Kobe Bryant goes to California, doesn't care about the Philadelphia area, doesn't come back, doesn't talk to his parents. Now flip it over. One of the best players and a future Hall of Famer, probably the best player in Major League Baseball. He's from Millville, which is farther away from Philadelphia than actual Lower
sure.
Merion. And this guy reps this area all day long with a smile on his face. And he's not even ours technically. He plays for the Angels, but he gets respect because he shows respect. That's all. Same. It's almost the same equation.
No, that's a great connection. You can't forget where you're from. That's the thing. And when you do, you kind of act like a sellout in a way.
Yeah.
I'm not from California, so I'm not going to go out and pretend that I am. I am. This is my area, New Jersey, Philadelphia. This is where we're from. So I'm not gonna. And Kobe did that. Kobe's from here and there, and this. It's and then the parents thing, which is kind of I'm not saying he's a bad person because he doesn't talk to his parents. I don't know what happened there, but we move on here. That's why Donnie doesn't like Kobe Bryant. That's why we in this town are fairly numb on Kobe, and that's why a lot of us boo him when he comes back here. You still hear boos, Donnie, when he would come back here.
Sure.
Um, we move on and talk a little. Speaking of the NBA, I've been wanting to get this off my chest. We move it down to Broad and Pattison, and Broad and Pattison is the intersection where all the
Yeah.
teams in this town play. And I'm going to get this off my chest because last night yet another bad loss for the Sixers, and I'm getting kind of sick of Brett Brown, and I want to tell you why. Uh, this has been kind of in me for a while here, and I'm sick of this team losing close games to bad teams, and I'm sick of this team losing close games to good teams. It's not the fact of Brett Brown loses games. That's going to happen. But Donnie, as you know in the NBA, unless you're Greg Popovich, you really don't have much. It doesn't really you're not. It's the league where coaches don't matter. You would agree with that. The coach in the NBA means virtually nothing unless, like I said, you have a Greg Popovich. Brett Brown has been a guy that has cost his team games due to his awful late in game decisions, his personnel decisions, his kid glove tactics with rookies that gets really old. I mean, I don't know of any other rookie in the league that continues to not play back to backs. I mean, does Lonzo Ball, Donnie, play back to backs? Does does all these other rookies? Because and Ben Simmons plays back to backs. Why doesn't Joel Embiid play back to backs? When is this going to end? When are we going to
Yeah, I
stop
don't.
with?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it gets old. I mean, it's like he's the only guy in the league that doesn't play on back to backs. And when Joel Embiid's not in games, they lose. I mean, it's just the truth of the matter. When he's in the game, you're caught. When he's not in the game, you're costing your team wins. And I'm sick of Brett Brown late in games not being able to draw plays up, continuously getting out coached late in games. I get, we should be happy that this team's actually near 500. They're doing things, but I got to be real, Donnie. I think the truth of the matter is you could put any coach in the Sixers right now, and I don't think they'd be any farther ahead back. I think if you take him off the team right now, they're probably a game or two up from where they would be because he's cost them late in games. It's time that we start to look at Brett Brown. It's been 5 years now. I know he hasn't had particularly good talent, but he has talent now. We also got to look at the fact that they gave $23 million to J.J. Redick, which okay, I mean, I don't know if that will mean too much because he's played okay, but you could have taken that money and went out and got a big time two guard that can not only score but can shoot and everything. Donnie, I asked this age old question with the Sixers: why was Lou Williams ever let go from this team? Can you answer that to me? I know it was 5 years ago, but I don't seem to understand the reason it was ever happened. I
I
mean,
don't. No idea. Yeah.
well, he's an
Is Lou Williams
unrestricted
still in the
free agent.
NBA?
Yes, and
Who's he
he's
play
very
for
good.
now?
He plays for Houston, and he's an
Uh,
unrestricted free agent after the season. So if I'm the Sixers, he's the guy you go out and target right away because you bring him in right away. You put him with Ben Simmons. You put him with Joel Embiid. They need to consider what they're going to do. And my bad, he plays for the Clippers. My bad. They got to relook at what they're going to do at the coaching position because I don't know if Brett Brown long term is the idea there. I
yeah.
would look towards David Fizdale. I would go to Jay Wright and say, listen, I know we've asked you about this before, but we're going to throw the big guns out at you. This is your team. This is your city. Why don't you come coach our basketball team? Because Jay Wright, even a David Fizdale, are better options than Brett Brown is. I'm getting sick of his attempts late in games to not close them out. Lonzo Ball game-winning attempt last night had me laughing. Yeah, what a surprise, Mr. Satan. You're actually vilifying Lonzo for that. Lonzo was the reason they were in the game late. I don't know if you watched it. You must have had rose-colored goggles on at that time because he hit some big shots late in that game. Um, Look, he got blocked. What do you want him to do? Yeah, I had a great game otherwise. Oakland coming in, Donnie, big game for the Eagles this week. They'll be in town. Um, as we know, we'll look forward to that game later in the week. Excited to break that one down. Um, the thing with the Eagles is they're going to know if Minnesota loses, they're going to know right away. Obviously, being that Monday night game, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, Minnesota's going to, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, and it doesn't look like he's probably going to play from everything that you're reading out of Mike McCarthy saying he got hit way too much and he's really sore. Why would you run him back out there with nothing to play for? I think Minnesota's probably going to win out in their games as well. But the Eagles have, chump change up on deck the next two games at Lincoln Financial Field. They'll win at least one of two of those games. Most notably the Raiders, who won't be playing for anything on Monday Night Football. So I don't think that's going to matter one bit. And, they'll head into the playoffs. I already have the Eagles at 1, Minnesota at 2 heading into the playoffs. I don't think that's going to change.
Amen. We also, guys, remember, we'll break down a little college basketball coming up. 3 games on the card. Also throw out some futures that I'm involved with that we weren't able to get to yesterday. And we'll break down tonight's game between FAU and Akron. A pretty big number here. One of the biggest I've ever seen in a ball game.
Yeah.
Big man, thanks for Everton yesterday. No problem, Ernest. Nice winner. They went down 1-0 and then scored 3. So we'll take it. One other thing with the Phillies, Donnie, we didn't talk about this last week. I kind of forgot about it. Phillies are making some splashes here. Went out and got Carlos Santana from the Cleveland Indians. It gives you a bit of an issue now, though, because it wasn't Rhys Hoskins supposed to play first base. I mean, I not really sure I understand this, but I guess you're going to put him in left field. Carlos Santana, a good player, guy with a lot of power, and kind of an underrated on-base percentage guy. Walks a ton. I think initially it was kind of like, what is this all about? But then I guess if you're going to play Hoskins in another position, that works. But the Freddie Galvis trade was odd. I know you want to move on from him, but the truth is he's a very good shortstop. You're putting a lot of eggs into J.P. Crawford's basket. Freddie Galvis is a hell of a shortstop, Donnie, that you basically just gave away.
No, I think it was time to move on, though. I think that next level team that you're coming up is going to deal with J.P. Crawford. He's got to be the shortstop. He's going to be your shortstop of the future. You're right, though. Freddie Galvis, say what you want about the kid. I mean, coming up, playing hard, coming every day to the ballpark, a gold glove caliber shortstop, and had a little bit of pop in his bat. Sad to see him go, but I think sometimes, Jeff, you have to turn that page. When you know what's on deck, you really have to see what J.P. Crawford's made of there. I like the signing of Santana to go in there first base. A guy that's going to hit 300, a guy that's going to walk a lot, keep the bases moving there. It is interesting, though, where you take Rhys Hoskins off of first base. It's not like you're sending a guy out there, Jeff, who's a really good and talented outfielder, a little bit clumsy in the outfield. I mean, he's an average outfielder, but maybe more comfortable there at first base. So it was interesting, but you never can get mad when you're going to always bulk up the ball club with another good bat out there. Has had some nice signings there for relievers. So Phillies are on their way. And again, next year when Machado comes up or Bryce Harper, the Phillies will get one of those two guys by offering probably $400 million in a contract for either one of them. They're loading up, and they'll get one of those guys next year, and then they'll make a run in the near future.
Yeah, Talat Al-Tafi, I do love your points, but I got to say, Donnie definitely got you on that one. He definitely did not stay loyal to one team.
Yeah, he was really loyal. Yeah, come on.
Because according to Kobe, when he was drafted by Charlotte, it was an impossibility that he would not play for that team. So, again, listen, I'm going to tell you one thing about Kobe. The word loyal is not in his dictionary at all.
Yeah, was he loyal to Shaq? Was he loyal to Shaq behind the scenes too? How about that?
Right. Right. Loyalty is not something that I would regard with Kobe Bryant. He's a legend. I'm telling you that, but loyal is not one of the words.
Loyal
that
is
I would,
not in
I would
his
give.
lifeblood. You're right. He was loyal to his wife. Really,
But
really.
he's not even
to
loyal
his
to
wife.
his wife or his family.
Yep.
I'm looking at his parents.
Loyal to his
He's
parents who raised him. Put the shelter on his head. His dad probably taught him everything he knows about the game. Doesn't talk to him. He's real loyal there. He was loyal to Charlotte. He was loyal. I mean, these guys are winning titles. Maybe could have gone down as the best duo of all time. But Kobe wanted his shine and basically said it's me or Shaq. So he wasn't loyal to Shaq at that part. So yeah, come on, loyalty and Kobe. Get out of here.
Don't forget, Donnie, in the 2000 Olympics, he declined the option to play for the Olympics to get married. Not that you couldn't get married in the off season. You had to go and get married that summer. So you spurn your country as well, Donnie. But remember, Kobe's Italian, from what he's told. He speaks Italian. He's fluent. Kobe and loyal. Yeah, Kobe and loyal are not two words that would be
great ball player, not loyal.
Correct. Let's move on, Donnie. Hitting the hardwood time. We get into college hoops, and we're still in this non-conference bubble where it's kind of towards the end where it's like come on, let's get through this. It's like last night, Donnie. I was driving to the store. I had to go to the store later last night, and I'm listening to ESPN radio, and this commercial comes on. It's like, catch the big game, SEC Network, Wednesday night. It's Florida, and they play all these Florida, like you hear these coaches and like the players, and they name their names. Then they go, catch Florida taking on James Madison Wednesday, and it's like
Only here.
on SEC Network. It's like, all right, I thought it was like Florida, Missouri, or Florida, Kentucky. It's like, okay, I can deal with not watching James Madison. Thanks. But I quickly, Donnie, want to go through three games here, and I do want to
Yeah.
let everyone know this is a good way to kind of plug this. For anyone interested, today at 3 o'clock, Bet Buffet. I will be on there, chatting about some games. I'll take some questions. So if you have a college hoops question,
It's a
a
live bet
futures
buffet.
question,
Yes. Good
yes,
to
it's a
know.
live show. So this is basically a show dedicated weekly to answering your college hoops questions from a whole or from a game today. If you have a question on futures or question on how I do certain things or look at things, feel free to jump on the show. Save your questions for that, and I'll try to get to them. That's at 3 o'clock Eastern today. Little question answer session here at SBRpicks.com. So join me at 3 for that. Donnie, let's get into some games today. What do we got going on?
Yeah, let's take a look, Jeff. We'll keep it in the rotation here. Let's go first, 5:35, 5:36. We'll go Dayton and St. Mary's of California, as we know. Looks like early spread indicators, Jeff. 56% are lining up to bet St. Mary's in this ball game. It opened up at 11, Jeff, at Pinnacle and Chris, but has since been bet down. Chris now showing a 9, so a 2-point movement in that ball game. Opened up over under, Jeff, 141.5, 140, depending on where you're shopping around. Now seeing that number dip into the 130s. 139 currently posted at Bet Online. Dayton, St. Mary's, Jeff. What can we look forward to here? 10 p.m. Eastern time tip-off here.
Yeah, this is a pretty good game here. I mean, St. Mary's is a team that I was pretty into this year. I thought bringing back what they brought back, the fact that they went out and got Cullen Neal from Ole Miss, thought he fit that program real well. But they haven't started off particularly well. They're usually a very good ATS team under Randy Bennett. Haven't been this year. They're 0-3 ATS at home. But then you look at Dayton, and this isn't one of the cornerstone Dayton teams either. I mean, Anthony Grant comes over after Miller goes to Indiana. They've been, pretty poor as well. And I think this is a game where, for me, St. Mary's probably gets it done here. I think this is looking like, for me, a lot of people look at this and say, well, your Dayton's usually pretty good. They can score. And, St. Mary's is St. Mary's. I get a feeling this is a lot like Boise SMU last night. Kind of glad I stayed off that game. I kind of felt like with Jamal McMurray coming back, the writing was on the wall, and SMU would kind of roll. But St. Mary's is usually very good at home. Moraga, a place that they do well in. They're 41-3 over the last 44 games at home, straight up. There's just not a huge margin of error here. And Dayton's a team that if you can shut down Christian Cunningham, you're going to have a pretty solid effort. And they're just a young team. Their coach is new. They got to go on the road, and you got to look at these games, Donnie, like kind of from a standpoint of it's right before Christmas. Conference play is getting going here next week. These games, this game's important just because it is a game where if you're able to win this one, it'll definitely look good on your resume. But um, it's a long trip. It's a trip from a team that's not particularly good right now. I lean St. Mary's. I kind of think it's a lot like Boise SMU last night.
No, it seems to be an interesting one, Jeff. Also looking at the pace of play here. As we know from the past with Dayton, obviously coaches change, players change there at Dayton. One of those teams that could play lockdown defense. It wasn't, so to speak, in a hurry up and down the court, Jeff. We know over the past couple of years, Randy Bennett teams with St. Mary's playing at an absolute, I don't even want to say slow pace, a slug pace. If we're looking at this total, Jeff, we're hovering right around 140. Theoretically, both teams hitting 70 points that we're looking at. Does that seem a little bit high to you, or is there something I'm missing in this game here?
Yeah, I think with SM or with St. Mary's, you're always concerned with they're very efficient offensively generally,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
again, they're very slow. I mean, they're among, and like you said, you mentioned the slug word. I mean, they're among generally the slowest teams in the country. Last year, they were dead last. This year they're 343rd out of 351 teams. I mean that's very slow. They're going to work the shot clock. They're going to throw the ball around and try to get the best shot. But one thing I do like they did say is they are very efficient. They're shooting the three at a high level. They're getting put on the foul line and they're making their foul shots. Both these teams make their free throws. I don't know. I mean, it's really going to be about can Dayton put up the 70 points. That's the big thing. I'm not as worried about St. Mary's. They'll put up 70 points. Do I think that Dayton can? I have a feeling this game's like a 79-68 type of game, 79-76, something like that. It'll be close to the number, but I think it will go over. Sure.
Jeff, next up on the docket here, 549, 550, Belmont, Western Kentucky. One game we actually didn't dip into. I don't know if it took place on a weekend or a date that might have been buried on like a Friday. Going back and seeing Stansbury's boys go in and play Wisconsin, I believe. Oh, the game we got at Temple, Jeff. I'm sorry about that. Where you had that freak play that they always do, the cheap, tie game at the end of regulation. You run a guy into a screen, they call an offensive foul, you get to shoot the free throws. That one brings in the mind, but Western Kentucky played very well in that ball game. Playing versus Belmont tonight, 74% of the spread tickets, Jeff, early wagering coming in on Western Kentucky. Line opened up at 6. Now sitting 6.5 across the board. Looks like some scoring is anticipated in this one, Jeff, as we're opened up at a 149.5, but now sitting around 148 across the board. Belmont, Western Kentucky, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, you bring up that West Kentucky game. I actually had them in that game, and I was
that
play.
You like that play. Yes, you were.
I was good with it. I was like, you know what? Sucks they lost, but I'm good with it because I had them +6, and I really didn't want to see overtime in that game. But yeah, Belmont's interesting this year because they're not as effective as usual from three, though. I think we all are well aware they're usually going to be pretty good from the 3-point line. They're good as a dog, 4-0 this year against the spread. And, I got to be honest, Donnie, I'm not running to the window to bet or lay points at West Kentucky right now. They're a team that's kind of, I don't know, bipolar in a way. I mean, sometimes they play really well, they look good, but then there's sometimes where they go and really struggle against like a Buffalo. They're a weird team. They're not a team that's cohesive, really. Though they are 7-2 against the spread, which is interesting. A lot of those games, though, they're not laying points in. I don't know. Belmont's a tough team. They're a good foul shooting team, but West Kentucky really doesn't put you on the line as much. I don't have a ton on this game. I just thought it was kind of an interesting game to look at from a schematic perspective. I need to look more into it, but gun in my head, I might even just lean with the points here. This is a big game for Belmont before they get into the conference slate. This is a win you could put in your cap feather-wise as a big win. They beat West Kentucky at a couple big wins. This would be a big win for Belmont. And they can stay in this game by hitting some threes, Donnie. They're a great foul shooting team. And Rick Bird's a guy I don't like to generally bet against. West Kentucky's not going to exploit anything on the rebounding edge here. Belmont is a pretty decent defensive team. I kind of want to take the points here against West Kentucky.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, heading through the break. And also, I like to keep in mind, you're looking at the morning shows. We usually do it. We love doing this show. The morning headlines go through what happened the night before, but some really interesting things are going to be planned for the new year coming up in January. We won't release any details on that, but obviously, me and the big man love college basketball. And as the show is going to shift from football over to college basketball season, we have a lot of cool stuff planned. There'll be a little bit more games on the docket that we actually talk about each and every day, but some cool twists to the right side of campus, which we'll let you know in just probably by that next week, we'll probably go live with some of those announcements, right?
How about that, Donnie? Teasing the audience on what we're doing going forward. Yeah, we had a little idea that we're going to pull off here, hopefully over right after Christmas as the new year commences. We'll get that going. So pretty exciting. Hopefully we can make that all happen. Yeah, exciting times coming up.
Yep. On the right side of campus, yes. 571, 572, Jeff. Let's pick out one more here in this 3-pack. South Dakota, UCLA. Tickets lining up early here on UCLA. 65% of those line opened up at 7.5, Jeff. Got no movement here pretty much across the board, hanging at 7.5 points in this game, Jeff. Again, we're looking at 158.5, 157, depending on where you were shopping at. Now sitting and settling in 158, 157.5 at Sportsbook, 158 at BetOnline, depending on where you're getting at there. UCLA at home in this one versus South Dakota. Upset alert, Jeff? What are we looking at?
I don't know about that. I actually want to make this clear. I'm a big fan of this Coyote team. I think they're really good. I think they're a team out of the Summit League that may win that division this year. I know IPFW Fort Wayne had a big win last night, and South Dakota State's good as well. But I like this South Dakota team. I think they're a good basketball team. They play well together. They have a good player with Matt Mooney. But this is a big time athleticism advantage here. I mean, you look at the one kind of game where a couple games they stepped up in. They weren't bad for South Dakota. I mean, you lost by 5 to TCU. That's impressive. You lose by 16 to Duke, but I mean that should happen. I mean, they play close games, South Dakota. They play hard, and I mean, I'm not running to the win at about 7.5 with UCLA here. Do they have the advantage here? Yes, athletically, they're much more gifted. But this South Dakota team can score. They're efficient. They make their threes. They're a good foul shooting team, and they're a great rebounding team. The concern I have here is, do they have an answer down low for Welsh and Golemon? I'm not sure that they do. I do think this will be a pretty high scoring game. That would be kind of the way I'm looking towards this one. It's a high total, 157.5, but with both these teams average 80 a game, this could get into one of those, 94-78 type of games, something like that. I would kind of be looking towards an over here, but I don't hate South Dakota just because, with UCLA, I think for them, they're going to win this game. But there's not a ton of it's just if you like South Dakota, I want to more or less get double digits. There's not a ton of wiggle room here because usually he's going to win this game. It's just a matter of, you know, can they win going away? I would think they can, but they've had some tough losses lately. They haven't looked particularly good in the non-conference. Almost lost to Central Arkansas. You lost to a pretty poor Wisconsin team. You give up 101 points to that Central Arkansas team in that game, by the way, and then you lose to Michigan and Cincinnati also. Right now, you really have to, like I said all year, Donnie. UCLA is playing with players that maybe shouldn't play right now. They have depth issues with the 3 players that aren't on the team. It's just kind of weird with them right now. Gun to my head, I'm going with South Dakota and the over.
Interesting. There you go. So you got a nice little 3-pack there in college basketball. Got about 10 minutes left in the show. We'll slide it down because we're going bowling today on a Tuesday, Jeff. Who can give up on this? Lane Kiffin going to get the spotlight down in South Florida playing at home in Boca Raton today. If we take a look at the numbers here, Jeff, 65% of the wagers currently coming in on FAU right now. Line opened up at Chris at 17. But Pinnacle did have a reopening line of 22.5, pretty much around that range. Sportsbook.com now showing, Jeff, a -23 and an over-under, which was in the low 60s, 61.5, 62, now being bet up as high as 66 at Sportsbook.com, 65.5 at Chris right now. So, I mean, ball season, Jeff, one would anticipate points in this one. Akron, very game in the MAC this year, but clearly stepping up in talent here. There's going to be no holding back. We're not resting. We're not getting ready for the next week. We didn't already clinch our bowl berth and, play in the conference championship game. This is the party. And let's keep in mind again, Jeff, this isn't your normal bowl game. This isn't Akron and FAU playing in, Dallas or San Diego or in the Bahamas. They're playing on Florida Atlantic's home field here tonight, Jeff. What can we look at this game? Let's break it down.
Yeah, I don't understand this. Listen, I get it's Florida Atlantic. I know they're supposed to be the greatest team in the history of college football with the way they played, but they play in Conference USA, first of all. And second of all, they're not Alabama. Why are they laying 22 points here? I know they're really good, Donnie, but let's be real. The Conference USA is a very similar conference to the MAC. This is kind of to me, this is kind of a slap in the face. And you better believe Terry Bowden's going to use this as motivation in this game. Look, I know Akron maybe shouldn't be in a bowl game. They've had a tough year. But the truth of the matter is they've kept close games for the most part. And listen, I'm really not ready to believe and anoint Florida Atlantic as some amazing being. Everybody's on them here. I haven't heard one person say they're on Akron. All I hear is how they're going to cover and win by 30 points. I look at this game very similar to the way I took Akron against Toledo in a MAC championship game. They were laying a very similar number here. You got to remember, this is over 3 touchdowns. Do I think Florida Atlantic's going to be up big in this game? Probably. I could see a situation where they're even up 28 late in this game. But this is a big number to cover. If you're Florida Atlantic, the goal is go in, play a real good game, be good in front of your home fans. I guess Lane Kiffin's a freak, and he'll try to go in and win by 50 in this game. But when I hear Dan Dockich talking about on a basketball game how he thinks Florida Atlantic's going to win by 612 points, that was my stone cold reasoning on why I'm taking Akron in this game. Every person that thinks they know about college football is going to take, and I'm not saying this is anyone on here, but Florida Atlantic's a trendy pick with a lot of people. I have this at like 44-24. I'm going to go Akron plus 22.5.
No, I can certainly see your point of view because it is a lot when you're, weighing down to see that number. If it was, 21 or 20 or less, I can see your point. But the fact I just can't get over is how really bad Akron actually is. I mean, I think still people look back, Jeff, at that Ohio game like, oh my God, they played Ohio really well. They actually beat them. And the young kid had a really good game, Cato, back at quarterback. But I just don't see it. Like, you've watched the Toledo game. The one thing, if you're hoping in this game, is Akron can't win this football game. They're going to get shelled. But maybe you get that Toledo game effect where Toledo just put their lights out and then just said, well, I mean, we already won. We'll take our foot off the gas. And Toledo is going to be able to come through the back door. I mean, 254 yards on the ground, 307 in the air. Toledo did whatever they wanted to them. And nobody has been able to stop the lane train, Jeff, down at FAU. I mean, look at Marshall's a good defense. That was in a pouring, driving rainstorm. They put up 30 points. 48 on Louisiana Tech. 52 on FIU, 31 on Charlotte, and 41-17 coasting to a win at North Texas. I just think it would be a shock to me in this game if Florida Atlantic punts more than 3 times the entire football game. FAU will get into the 40s in this one, probably 45 or more points versus Akron. I don't know if they can keep up in this one, but you're right. It's a lot of points. I'm going to stick to what I've been saying all along in this one. This is Tuesday night, single game, no NFL, no other college football. Lane Kiffin, one of the hottest commodities in coaching, he is going to put it on a display. And who is going to stop Singletary in that read option? They might run for 400 yards on this MAC defense here tonight. I'm not going anywhere near Akron. I haven't made up my mind exactly which way, which again on Twitter, I'll put it out if we have a little McDonald's action on this football game, but I'm going nowhere near Akron. They're not nearly as talented, and a MAC defense going up against that FAU team, it's going to get ugly, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm just not ready to think that, honestly. I don't. Florida Atlantic, we're made to believe that this is some unbelievable. First of all, they can't really throw the ball. Logan Woodside could, and he still wasn't able to cover the number. Listen, are they going to get there? Sure. I'd like.
Hold on, you said they can't throw the football against North Texas. They aired it out for 350. Jeff, they had 281 on the ground and 352.
North Texas is awful on defense.
North Texas would smoke Akron, Jeff. Smoke Akron. Come on.
Okay, listen, Donnie, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm on Akron here. Plus 22.5. I'm not going to believe you making Florida Atlantic.
But you're saying that, but your point was FAU. Your point was FAU can't throw the football.
Generally, they can't. They don't throw the ball. But they
hold
don't
on.
Generally.
352, 245, 239, and 221. What do you mean they can't throw the football?
They don't generally throw the football. They're a run-first offense. That's my point. Everybody knows Devin Singletary is the man there. They run the football
245, 239, and 221.
Donnie. Listen, Donnie.
Come on,
after the show, Lane Kiffin's outside of your house. He wants to come in. He wants to have a date with you after the show. All right, we get it. You like FAU.
But at least come with something correct. Don't say they can't throw the football when they just almost.
I said
yards in the last game.
They don't throw the football generally. They're more of a run-first football team. That's my point here. Okay, they can throw the football. They're not. I don't think of Florida Atlantic when I think of high-powered passing offense. Sorry, I don't. They're not even in the top 50 passing offenses, Donnie. I mean, sorry, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, well, when you run for damn near more yards than an academy school does, I mean, how many yards are left over for you to pass the football?
Okay, but again, let's go back to my point. They're 81st in the country in passing offense. They don't throw the ball that much. That's what my point is here. And I don't think they stack up at Logan Woodside throwing the ball. Logan was able to put up 45 points. I'm not sure if they're able to stop Akron. I could see them scoring Akron 24 points here. That means they're going to have to push 50. Can they do it? Sure they can. For me, I'm leaning Akron.
Might not be a bad play in this one. Over might not be a bad play in this one because Florida Atlantic is going to push close to 45 to 50 in this game. You would have to think Akron, just by default, right, is going to get chances at it.
No, I agree. I definitely agree with that. That's probably the best play on the board, and that's maybe something we should just avoid. Fuck the.
What is the team total? Yeah, anybody out there got that? I see Nick saying FAU team total over. I haven't actually had to check that there. I wonder what it actually is. They're getting into the 40s. I like that.
I mean, let's look at their last games here. Okay, they put up 69 against North Texas, Cool. Who cares? Western Kentucky, 42. I mean, all I'm saying is we're anointing them as like, Donnie, they're not 22
Wait, what
points
game?
better than any. They're not 22 points better than anybody. Florida
What
Atlantic's really good.
they just beat
But
North Texas by 24. What do you mean they're not better than 22 points better than anybody? They just covered that game last game.
I don't think they should be laying numbers like this. I don't.
I mean, they
I
beat
don't
Florida
think they're
Atlantic, Florida International almost by 30. You had what, 25-point win versus La Tech? I mean, they've covered those numbers.
yeah, but what I'm saying is profile wise, I don't want to lay 22 points. I just don't feel comfortable doing it with a team like Florida Atlantic. I don't think defensively they're good. They're not. I don't totally believe in them. I think they're going to get points up in this game. It's a lot of points to lay in a bowl game. It's a lot. I can't remember the last time I've seen a number this high. That's all I'm
No,
saying.
I think it's a record. I actually think it's a record, Jeff.
Right.
I
It's a
don't think
lot
I
of
don't think
points.
there's ever been a bowl game this high. You're right.
And if it's a 50-point win, then then I suck and I probably shouldn't cap college football. But I'm going to take the 22.5 here.
I like that 44.
Donnie,
It says 44 out there, Jeff. Team total. I like that because I got them getting 45. So I think it's
but
that number's right
realistically,
about on. Yeah.
the best play in this game might be on the over, frankly.
Now you're right
So
about that. I might have to rethink that. I still think Florida Atlantic covers, but the more I think about it, if you're going to say, Donnie, stick to your guns and just say they're going to get 45. If they get 45, the game has to go over just because, again, they do have a little bit of an MO of letting off the gas, and then you also seen Akron coming through the back door. Woodson will be the quarterback, I would assume tonight. I would hope if you're looking for the over, you better hope it's him and not the other kid that's just going to run around and make no reads out there like he's Mike Vick light. But so I mean, yeah, that might not 65.5 again in a bowl game with Lane Kiffin. If he's punting, Jeff, he's going for everything out there. So yeah, you know what? I have to rethink and just go with maybe a team total or just an over in that football game. I like it.
fuck, what's the money line in this game on Akron? You got a number on that?
I do not right now. Let me see if I can find it.
I mean, I don't look at Florida Atlantic's no Alabama. You never know.
Let's see, money
But
line.
yeah,
No,
what do
I
you
don't
got
even
on
have
that?
a money line, Jeff. Nothing.
No.
It doesn't even come
I'll have
up.
to look on 5 dimes. They probably
Oh,
have
there we go. Mine
Um,
plus 12.50, 5 dime. There you go.
plus 12.50, 12.5 to 1. Might put a little shilling on that, maybe, Donnie. Little 25er on that. I might take a shot there. Other than that, guys, you're on your own. Have a great day. I'll be back at 3
Still didn't get
o'clock
the
with
futures, Jeff. We will get the futures at some point.
yeah.
Jeff.
It's so much in the show, and unfortunately, we have a time limit on this show just because there's so much after us. We have nothing to do after the show, but we have to get off at 11.
Even
So
one more,
we'll,
Jeff. We'll drop those futures in the near future. How about that?
yeah, I'll do it today on the show. I'll throw out a couple of them today that I'm moving on. We have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, roundtable at 10 o'clock with the boys. I'll be back at 3. Join me for that. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.